Hey guys, it's Weston here. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Vodafone Smart Ultra 6. So what you are seeing now is direct from the Vodafone's front-facing camera. So the video and audio that you are seeing and hearing is straight from that. No editing, colour correcting or anything like that. I'd also like to say a massive thank you to Vodafone for sending this out to review. But as always, that doesn't affect my judgment. So let's just jump straight in with the design. So kicking off up front, we've got your sensor, your earpiece and your front-facing camera, and you also get a small glimpse of the foam metal frame around the phone's edge. In the middle you've got your very large 5.5-inch display. So this is an IPS panel with a resolution of 1080p. At the bottom of the phone you've got some off-screen keys. So these are capacitive keys and obviously are used instead of the on-screen ones. So these keys do illuminate when you actually use them, which is pretty handy for use in darker situations. The only problem is though they don't go too bright, so visibility outdoors isn't fantastic. The small ring in the middle also doubles up as a charging light and a notification LED as well, which is really cool. On the right side of the phone you've got your SD expansion slot, which is pretty cool, and I'll talk more about that later on. And then on the other side of the phone you've got your SIM card slot, your volume rocker and your power switch. So these are just finished off in plastic and look relatively nice and feel okay-ish as well. At the bottom of the phone we've got your USB charging port and your primary microphone. And then right at the very top you've got your single 3.5mm headphone jack. Spin the phone round to the back and you've got your flash, your camera and your microphone, which is a noise cancelling microphone. You can also see we've got a nice little silver ring around the camera module. In the middle of the phone we've got the Vodafone logo, so this is finished off in silver. Then right at the very bottom you've got some 4G branding and your rear firing speaker. So in the hand the phone measures in at 154mm tall by 77mm wide by 8.4mm thick. So it's a relatively thin phone and it comes in at 159 grams. So in the hand though the phone does feel a little bit too big for me to use one-handed, and I did find myself using the phone two-handed more often than not. If you've got larger hands then this isn't an issue and you won't have to do any hand gymnastics, but me, I often have to do some really weird sort of manoeuvres to actually use the phone one-handed. But most of the time, like I said, I use the phone two-handed because it felt more secure. So now we get on to the display, and this is a 5.5-inch IPS panel with a resolution of 1920 by 1080, which is full HD. And that gives you a PPI of 401. Not the sharpest 1080p panel out there, but it's certainly not the worst. So you can see, looking close at the text, it actually looks really nice. It's quite sharp and very clear. There's no rough edges or blockiness, especially around the icons. You can also see with it being an IPS panel, colours look very nice as well. If you've seen my OnePlus X review, you'll have seen the colours are really oversaturated and really overblown. IPS tends to be more realistic and natural looking colours. So whichever your preference is, there is that, but for my opinion I really like IPS. I don't really tend to like the overblown in saturation stuff. I like the cleaner and more natural look. So you can see these pictures, the colours are pretty vibrant, but they're not that vibrant that they're sort of jumping out at you. Like I said, if you like that then an IPS panel is probably not for you and you'd want to look at an AMOLED display. So then we get on to viewing angles, and viewing angles are actually really quite impressive. With it being an IPS panel, you don't get no colour shifting or colour distortion or rainbowing, and you actually get some pretty good viewing angles. I mean, obviously you don't view your phone at that extreme angle anyway, but if you're sharing your phone with someone else, they're not going to get a really bad experience sat slightly at an angle. So all in all for the screen, I'm actually pretty impressed. It's a very nice clean looking panel. It's not as sharp as some other 1080p displays I've seen, but it's for the money. I can't really complain about the screen whatsoever. So now we get on to UI, and the Ultra 6 is running Lollipop straight out of the box, and what you're getting is a relatively stock-like Android experience as you do with other Vodafone phones. So actually you're not getting any skin on top of it, so there's no sluggishness, which I will cover more in the performance. But you can see all looks pretty much exactly the same as what you expect from stock Android. So there's no issues or problems whatsoever there. So if you like that really clean vanilla looking Android, then this is definitely for you. The only issue is you do get quite a few pre-installed Vodafone apps. Not exactly what I'd call bloatware level, but they are pre-installed. Another cool feature of the Ultra 6 is double tap to wake. So you actually double tap on the screen and it actually wakes the display. Now sometimes double tap doesn't actually work and it doesn't recognise what you're doing, but other times it works and it works quickly. So there is that. There's also swipe to the left, so you can actually set a specific app, and when you swipe the home screen to the left, that actually quick launches an app of your choice, which is pretty cool. So under the hood of the Ultra 6 is a Snapdragon 615 clocked at 1.5 GHz. We've got an Adreno 405 GPU, 2 GB of RAM and 16 GB built-in storage, which can be expanded via SD up to 64 GB. So we get onto performance now, and it actually is really good. So we're going around the UI, swapping to your settings and going through your settings is actually really smooth. You can see you can have quite a lot of apps open and running as well, and there's no problem whatsoever. It does take a little bit of time to actually go between apps because the specifications aren't that brilliant, but I didn't notice any issues whatsoever or anything of major concern. So then we get on to gaming performance, and it actually performed pretty well. So coming from the OnePlus X to this, I did notice some differences, but obviously the OnePlus X is a much more powerful phone. And what I noticed mostly is the effects. So when you actually press the nitro on asphalt, you get a flame effect, whereas on this I didn't notice that. But what I will say for this phone is what it does, it performs really well for the money. And for a phone costing around £100, I was actually really impressed at how well it performed in game. So there was no lag, there was no frame drops, no stuttering or lag or anything, and it performed really smoothly. So if you're worried about performance of this phone, I wouldn't be at all, to be honest. So up next we've got the battery. So how does that perform with the specifications and the large 1080p display? So you can see first up we did get through more than a full day's use, and this was mixed use like YouTube, social media, email and all that stuff. And that gave me a screen on time of 5 hours and 41 minutes, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. It's really impressive. So next up we got through more than a day's use again, and that was mixed use, gaming, social media, email and a little bit of YouTube. And again, that gave me a very impressive screen on time of nearly 5 hours. So I have to say that I am very impressed with the battery in this phone. So now we get onto the camera, and the Ultra 6 is packing a 13 megapixel rear camera with an LED flash. And then at the front it's got a 5 megapixel, and both of these cameras are capable of shooting 1080p footage in 30 FPS. So let's have a look at the camera app next. So in the actual app itself you do get manual control, so you can actually control your ISO and all that good stuff in manual mode. Going to auto mode, you can see we've got a couple of settings, so you can flip your camera, set a timer and the flash, and you've also got some more settings as well for your camera. You can see we've got another one for video as well, and all of it's really nicely laid out, really easy to use and very user friendly. So you can see we've got some more modes as well. Some of these you only see on more expensive phones, but you do get multi-exposure, panorama, HDR, smile detection and all that good stuff packed into this, which I'm really surprised at. Focusing happens pretty quickly and taking photos doesn't take too long either. Autofocus is not too bad, but I still found the quickest way of taking photos is just to simply touch the screen and do it manually. But all in all though, the camera app is pretty impressive. So let's take a look at some photo samples. So you can see this image does look really nice, but it does have quite a warm yellow tint to it. The next image looks really nice and quite natural. The next one you can see has got some good dynamic range and the sky's not overblown or anything. Colour accuracy is pretty impressive as well, and you can see it does preserve quite a fair amount of detail. So the shots are pretty impressive from this, and I'm actually pretty impressed with the camera for the money, to be honest. So next up we've got a quick video sample. So right guys, I'm just testing the rear facing camera on the Smart Ultra 6. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm thinking it's actually pretty decent quality. It's a little bit wobbly though. I mean, this is all handheld, so let's just do a quick pan. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, it's a little bit wobbly, obviously, because it doesn't have a optical image stabilisation in it, but I think it's pretty passable, to be honest. So getting on to indoor images, and again you can see they're not that brilliant. We've got a lot of noise, there's some sort of smoothing and stuff going on around the edges, and it doesn't look too nice. And again you can just see a lot of noise and that yellow tint again. So all in all, the camera is fairly impressive, but it's not the best I've ever come across. So now we get on to the audio experience, and it's actually a pretty decent one. So the audio through the 3.5mm jack is actually not too bad. It's fairly loud, the quality is pretty decent as well, so if you listen to music via your phone, there's no issues whatsoever there. The audio from the rear speaker is again fairly reasonable, so if you just watch YouTube, listen to music and play games, then it's actually not too bad. So here's just a quick demo of the rear speaker. Right guys, so that is it for this review. So what do I think of the Vodafone Smart Ultra 6? Well, I think it's a pretty great phone for the money. The only things I didn't really find that impressive was the build quality, but then again, for such a cheap device I wasn't expecting it to be brilliant. The other issue is it's a little bit too big for my hands as well, but if you've got larger hands then that's probably not going to be an issue for you. The good points about the phone are the screen, very impressive, the battery life, really good as well. Media consumption and everything is fantastic on the 5.5-inch display, so no complaints in that regard. The sound quality is pretty good as well. So should you actually pick one of these up? Well, I would say possibly, yeah. I mean, if you don't mind being locked to the Vodafone network, then I'd say, I mean, for just over £100 that it is a cracking phone, and it is well worth looking at. Right guys, so that just about wraps it up for this review today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more videos coming very soon. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you all on the very next video.